Welcome to Policing TV. Each week, we will explore the highlights from our latest videos, diving into topics like AI, technology, drugs, and the people shaping the future of policing. We started with a piece from Maria Stanley in Gibraltar on the role of domestic abuse teams. She interviewed a number of serving officers here. We hear from Detective Kianna Hermida, who is passionate about protecting vulnerable victims of domestic abuse.
And I joined the police in 2020.
So you joined in 2020. What roles have you done in the RGP to date?
So when I joined in 2020, I undertook the training school, which was great. Made a lot of friends there. And once I did my pass out parade, we started on a response team. So I was on shift. Shift was absolutely great. What I loved about shift was, how versatile it was, dealing with all sorts of jobs. But I found very early on in my career in shift that I was very passionate about domestic abuse. I was extremely passionate about domestic abuse, and I always envisioned, working in that department. That was always the end goal.
So we talked a little bit before we were on camera, and you told me that had always been your goal. So talk to me a little bit more about what you do in your role in the Public Protection Unit.
Yeah, so as a detective in the domestic abuse team, it's absolutely great. It's a very rewarding job. It's all about protecting the most vulnerable victims of domestic abuse, offering guidance, advice to those who may not be ready to report any offences at this moment in time, however, maybe just need some advice in relation to how they can, move forward. And it's absolutely great. Honestly, it's very challenging. I'm not going to lie, it's extremely challenging because we deal with the most high-risk cases, but it is very rewarding when you're able to help, victims of domestic abuse.
So tell me a little bit about Gibraltar as a place. Would it typically, are people happy to come forward and report things to the police? What can you tell me about that?
It depends. It depends. I think when we're talking about domestic abuse in general, it's very difficult because people need to be ready to make that step to report whatever it is that they're wishing to report to police. So I would say it depends. It depends on the person and the stage that they're at, and whether they feel ready to to speak to someone about abuse that they may be subjected to at home. What I would say is, sometimes they just need to speak to someone and get some advice. It completely depends on the person and what it is they're being subjected to. But we're here to, to listen, to offer our guidance, our support, and, and refer. We could even make referrals, to different agencies. It might be the case that they're not ready to proceed, in reporting something. However, they may need that little bit of support. So we can make referrals, we can refer them to different agencies who may be able to offer counselling or, general advice, legal clinics. So there's a lot we do in the team, but not everyone is ready, to take that step. So what we say is we are there, we're available when they are ready, and we just offer support and guidance in the meantime.
Okay.
In our second video, we heard from Superintendent Marcus Noden from Greater Manchester Police, who discussed the importance of brave and courageous leadership in policing with Brendan O'Brien and his proudest moment in policing.
Question, Brendan, I really had to rack my brain, not because I didn't have any proud moments. I have so many in policing. I've been in policing for coming up to 27 years, and inevitably, whether it be success in promotion exams, dealing with particular incidents, meeting particular people, or helping others. There's so many different proud moments I could talk about, but the one I want to talk about today is actually a very, very early arrest that I made about 25 years ago, actually, when I was in my first 12 months of service, around 2000, the year 2000. And whilst it wasn't my first arrest, I was out of the tutor company period, very much independent patrol. It was quite a significant arrest in terms of the individual. He was an extremely dangerous offender. He'd previously been convicted of burglary and rape, and he was quite a nasty offender. And he'd been highlighted on various bulletin briefings, intelligence briefings. So I'd clocked him. I clocked his name. I clocked his face. I knew the area that he lived. It was part of my footbeat at the time, and I was very keen to try and track him down and hopefully bring him to justice. For offences that I believed he would still be committing, and that actually happened one night. So I was out on patrol. It was an overlap shift, so it was a late evening, early hours of a weekend, and I was going around my beat area of Withington, the South Manchester area of Withington, and I heard a burglar alarm just around the corner. I thought I'll go and inquire, and I did. As I did so, I came around the corner. I saw a chap literally in the lounge window drawing the curtains. I looked at him, he looked at me. I think we were both as startled as each other. I saw that he'd been piling a load of stolen goods up by the back window with a view to taking them away with him. And at that point, the chase was on, quite frankly. I called on the radio for assistance, but at that point I was on my own, and I was a lot younger then and quite a lot fitter. So I leapt round to a ginnel at the rear of the house, and thankfully I chose the right way, because he came clattering round through the passageway, and the chase was on. Now, I was a rugby player back in the day as well, and I'm still quite proud of the rugby tackle that I effected on him. Managed to detain him, arrested him. It was a successful arrest, and eventually it was a successful conviction following a guilty plea, and he received 2 years in custody, which was fantastic. And so in terms of that arrest, extremely proud. It's still one that sits with me. It's not very often an individual or a police officer catches an individual in the act of burgling. Clearly.
Lastly, we heard more from Rachel Tuffin, who discussed the Neighbourhood alert system as a significant innovation in community policing. She explored how targeted messaging can enhance public engagement and improve perceptions of policing.
On this latest video, we're going to be hearing from you about neighbourhood alerts, and the neighbourhoods alerts as an example of an early part of the research progression, if you like. So tell us more about that, if you would.
Yes, yeah, because we've been thinking about that pipeline of innovation and of research. This is a great example of what you can do just in the sharing part. We're going to talk later about, going on to test and support implementation. But actually, it seems like there's a fair bit you can do just from sharing. So this is an example from Humberside Police, but there are lots of other forces that have this, that use it. They were the ones that shared it with us on our practice bank. So when we had a look at it, our researchers got quite excited by this one, because it's a way of targeting messaging to people in neighbourhoods. So it can really support neighbourhood policing and really support how you engage with the public. So you can have like geographically focused messaging that you can do, and it allows you to target particular individuals who have particular interests and so forth. So sounds
let me just ask, are these messages by phone, by mobile? Are they Facebook? Are they social media messages? How are those
on
messages?
Your mobile device, yeah.
On your mobile device.
Yeah. And what seems to be happening, so just to cut to the chase and then I'll wind back a little bit, is we took that and thought, oh, that looks really exciting. So we worked with Quest, there's a policing consultancy in the UK, to have a look at what, if you look at the users from one year to the next, so from 2023 to 2024, what could you see in terms of any changes, and what were there any reasons that you could tease out of why there might be any changes in their view of policing, their perceptions, and what they thought about the neighbourhood alerts service? And it looks really promising. So these are very early findings, but it seems to be that people who are using these neighbourhood alerts, receiving these alerts, are their perceptions are improving. I mean, they're not just like drastically going up, but they are improving. And that, I think, is really important in an era where we're wanting to really focus on understanding what matters to people in local areas, because that's a critical part of neighbourhood policing, getting them involved in helping us solve what's happening in local problems, because often, obviously, the solutions lie in the community's hands or in partners' hands. So getting them involved in helping to do that is fantastic. And then also being able to share with people what's happened when some problem solving activity has happened. So great news, you told us that X has happened, there was some issues with drug dealing or whatever, we and you have worked together to do this, and now that problem has been reduced. So I think it's a really, really promising tool. And what we're looking for, I'd love to hear from, again, anybody who would like to work with us now. And so that's a kind of high level finding we found from across the forces that are using it. But of course, there's probably loads of variation. In fact, we know there is lots of variation across how forces are using it. So doing some testing around what's the best ways of using it, how do you get the best results, how do you use it alongside your neighbourhood policing in the best way? That's what we'd like to do next. So it's a fantastic example of, really, just from the sharing bit of the pipeline right at the beginning, you can find out that there's a super tool, lots of people are using it, but there's maybe not a very strong evidence base yet. There's some really promising findings, and we could do loads more with it and optimise with forces, like get the best potential out of it without spending any more money, because they've already got this tool. So I think it's a great example of where, I've said it a few times, but when you just from sharing, you can understand more about what the opportunity is in terms of innovation.
So on that sharing theme, if you'd like to know more or have something to contribute, do get in touch with Policing TV, with me at Policing TV, with Rachel or with the College of Policing. college.police.uk is the website, and you'll find some contact details there. So once again,
Thank you for watching. Tune in next week.